Hello my lovelies. I wanted to flip through January in the Filofax and just do a kind of monthly wrap up of all my planners and notebooks and things and what I did in January. I appreciate it's now middle of February almost, so a little delayed, but you know, life gets busy and I wanted to sit down and do this properly and not in a rush. So I finally got some time today. So I'll show you the monthly pages for my Filofax, my calendar, my catch-all notebook and my reading log for January. First things first is, how am I liking being back in the Filofax? I honestly am just loving it so much. I've really missed it the last few years and I'm just really pleased that I'm back in it now. I mentioned in a previous video how I'm keeping it very simple this year. I don't, for example, have any dividers, no particular sections. I've only got really two sections. So I've got this, which is my opening page. And then this first section here is just my yearly overview. And this is where I track my cycle. But other than that, it's just straight into the diary pages. And I've put here on the edge these little monthly markers. Hopefully you can see that. January all the way through to December. I found these. I'll show you the sticker pack that I used where I found these, but they're so cute and tiny and they suit this perfectly. So I have the week over 2 pages, and I'll start the flip through. Now I wanted to quickly show you the one that I used last year, just for reference, because for many years I've essentially used colour coding. I'm just going to give you a very quick sort of look about how this looks. I'm not going to sort of flip through it properly, but as you can see here, my colour coding will look like this for the past few years. Pink is seeing friends or personal plans, orange is exercise, purple is personal stuff, and green or blue are seeing my boyfriend. And it's worked really well, but this year I wanted to do something a bit more grown up, shall we say. I still want things like stickers and a bit of colour in my planner, but I kind of want it to just look a bit more clean. I've gone without colour coding for this first month for January, and I started colour coding years ago because on digital calendars it's really useful to see at a glance, for example, how many times a week I've done exercise, but I don't track anymore so much. This is just for me to sort of write down roughly the few things I've done in a day, and I don't need to colour code for that, so I've decided to just put that to the side for now and just use one pen. I use the Coeca Sport pen with a very deep red ink. I can't remember the name of this ink, but I will add it to the description, but it's a really lovely, very dark, burgundy colour, so it goes really nice with the purple Filofax. I really like those dark colours, and I also, which I'll show you as I flip through, use a green ink as well. I just got this from the internet somewhere. I can't remember what this pen is. It's very heavy though, it's good quality, and this has a very dark green ink in it, so burgundy and a dark green are the 2 inks that I've been using. And you'll see that I do use a few other sort of highlighting colours, but it's few and far between. One thing I will say as well is January is always a quiet month, and I've definitely had a sort of ebbing of energy, so this looks very empty on some of the weeks, I think. I've tried to sort of fill it up with some extra stickers and things. These stickers mean that I'm just covering something that's sort of private or a location that's near me that obviously I don't want to share online. But otherwise I'll just show you what I've put. So I add a line to the sides of my pages each day, and I add here what the weather is doing and also what the temperature is. I don't do this every day, as you can see, but if I'm sitting at my desk and I remember, or something in particular is happening with the weather, then I will just make a note of what temperature it is and like add a sun or rain or clouds and things like that. Because it's quite nice to see at the end of a year sort of how the weather changed and the sorts of things that I was doing in different type of weather. I also, at that little empty box at the top left, I'll show you an empty one here. There's just a spare sort of box up here. I always add when the sun rises and sets that week, and this is particularly helpful because I do have an allotment plot, so I need to know when the sun's going to be risen so that I know if I can go to the plot early or late. And I've not done this before, but I've actually loved doing that this month because I can see this week, for example, that we're already getting almost an hour's worth of extra sunlight a day than we were at the beginning of January. So that's a nice little thing. And then I've been adding just a couple of stickers as well to that section. And the rest of the days, the rest of the weeks are just me sort of noting down what I've done each day. So that day I went to B&M's and had a walk around a lake. I took the Christmas decorations down, I wrote thank you notes, and I had a bath. So these are the kind of things that I just write down. I've said before in other videos, I don't use my Filofax to plan in advance. This is my writing down what happened for memory keeping, just the general things that I do in a day. And yeah, so things like sunrise and sunset, the weather, just the basic overview of things I've done. I write down if I've had a telephone call with someone. For this day, I spoke with my mum on the phone. And if I'm feeling extremes, I'll also write that down. So I won't write down every day how I feel, but for example, these 2 days, I was very tired. And that's quite useful to notice trends over the month as well. And just added a few other little stickers. The next week, this day here was so busy at work, so I did basically nothing for myself that day. It was just a solid day's work. So I've added a little sticker there to just kind of fill the space up. And I'm trying to use stickers that are nice and calming to look at. I'll show you the 2 sticker packs that I use in a moment. But yeah, something that kind of fits with the overall theme of the diary. So they're very sort of pastel colours, nice shiny gold, little cute animals, those kind of things, because they're the things that I like, and I think it looks nice for the planner. And as much as I do want it to look a bit more adult and not be filled with different highlights of colours and things, obviously I still want it to look pretty and to have some sort of prettiness to it. So they're sort of, I'm adding a bit here and there, but not too much. So this day I did some personal study and I met a friend for lunch, wrote some letters. I had a very busy brain day. So this is when I just can't quite get my mind to settle or relax properly. And I don't normally write these extremes down in my Filofax, but I wanted to see if it does coincide with things like either my cycle or the moons, because I wonder if there's a correlation. For example, I know that I sleep really terribly a couple nights before there's a full moon, and so I'm wondering if my busy brain days are because I'm just not managing finding that rest period around work and personal stuff, or if it's something to do with something else that I'm not sure about yet. So yeah, quite a quiet weekend as well here. For example, I get very tired quite easily at the moment, and by the end of the week I just need to often relax and not really do anything. I am trying to focus on restful relaxing rather than, for example, just rotting in front of the TV. So this weekend my partner was over, but we did nothing in terms of, like, we didn't go outside. But what I did this day was we slept in a bit, we had a nice breakfast, and then I did a bit of study and I did some hobbies. I made I sewed something as a present for one of my friends. So I'm still doing things, but they're not high exertion and they're not meaning that I have to go outside. And it's not for me to feel like I'm being productive, because I don't want to feel that way. But these are things that I want to do and I enjoy doing, and when I do them, it feels like a rest for my brain rather than adding to the busyness. So that's what I've been making time for at the moment. But then it goes up and down, so the following weekend I was quite busy and I was out both the days, so that's nice. But I'm trying very hard this year to definitely make those periods for rest, to refuse to rush, try and take my time with things, and try to resist that sense of urgency during the day, and just do one thing at a time. Listen to how my body feels, and if I'm really tired, then I can push plans back. And I'm always conscious to not say yes to plans if I'm feeling very low energy. And I explain that to people. I say, you know what, actually I can't say yes to this right now because I'm not feeling that I have enough energy, but can we do this in a few weeks, something like that. That is January. This is the first week of February. So for these little tab sections here, these pages that I have, I've added before every month. These are for me to just write down a kind of list for what's coming up that month. I don't want to add a huge list to this, but things that maybe come around once a year, for example. So for February, I need to book a hygiene appointment with my dentist. I need to cancel a subscription. Last week it was cancelling 2 subscriptions actually. And for March, I've got down that I've got a deep clean due. I need to get a birthday present, and I need to freeze a subscription as well. So these sorts of things that I don't necessarily want to put on an ongoing to-do list, but they just remind me for the month what's coming up. And that's working really well, and they work as a great little buffer for in between each month. Now, I wanted to also mention my monthly calendar. I've used a digital calendar for a very long time, but this year I wanted to go back to a physical calendar. I got this very cute tiny one, hand for scale, and I did hang it up next to my desk, but I don't like sticking things to my walls. I've just had my bedroom decorated and that's where my desk is, and I didn't want to put anything on the wall, so I attached, as you can see here, I've had to tape it because it broke. I attached a screw to a cabinet that I have next to my desk, but having it up there meant that it covering the cabinet shelves, and I couldn't put things on the shelves without this sort of falling off. So even though it's very tiny, it became quite irritating straight away. Unfortunately, I don't think this is going to work for me during the rest of the year, but I did find this when I was buying some birthday cards at a shop. This was on the counter in a birthday card shop for like £1. Look how cute this is. It is it's a little calendar, a monthly calendar, but it's so small. You can tuck it into anything. So I picked this up and filled it in with everything that I've put on my monthly calendar. So these are things like full moons, new moons, the equinox and solstices. That's a difficult word to say. When the clocks go backwards and forwards, things like this, or like major holiday events. Those are the sorts of things, like, you know, bank holidays here. And birthdays, those are the sorts of things that come up. It's just useful for me to see at a quick glance what's coming up over the month, but this felt like it just wasn't working. So what I'm doing now with this is I just use this as a nice photograph on the fridge. I have a little hook magnet that I can hang from this hole here, and it's just a nice little bird picture every month. So that's what I'm going to do with that one, so it won't be completely wasted. And at the end of the year I can obviously reuse these birds in like scrapbooking and stuff. I've been using this and it's so amazing because, for example, I can just tuck this at the end of the day Usually I have it open on that month, and I'll just pop it in the back here and it fits open in the Filofax. It's such a perfect size. And also, if I'm going out and about, I don't like to take my Filofax with me, but I take my notebook, and this fits perfectly in the envelope at the back of my notebook. So this way I can still see that at a glance stuff if I'm making plans when I'm out and about, but it saves me having to check my phone. I should probably mention that that's why I'm going back to a physical calendar, is because I'm trying to spend much less time on my phone now, and a lot of time I pick up my phone it's to look at my monthly calendar. So that's helping me to stop doing that. But I really love this very tiny, cute size. Very cheap. I got this from the Card Factory, which is, as it says, a card shop in the UK. This is so cute, and it's definitely working for me better than the larger one. Next, I'll come back to my catch-all notebook. This is a place where I do things like I'll make seasonal to-do lists. I have my mother lists, I'll check in with my goals, I'll do personal development journaling. If I'm reading or watching something interesting, I might just sort of journal about that or do a mind map on things. Basically just a complete catch-all. If I'm doing very private or spiritual journaling, I have a different notebook for that, which I might show in another video. But that's the notebook that I get out when I'm doing ritual work, whereas this is something that I can just have with me all the time, and I'll just pick it up if I want to note something down. So some of these things are quite private, so I don't really want to do a full flip through of this. But despite the fact that this is quite a pricey notebook, it's so beautiful and well made. But it's really kind of my messy notebook. But I've come to think that just because something is, you know, going to be messy and rough doesn't mean that it can't be special. So I have treated myself to this, because last year I used a notebook where I did catch everything in it rather than having a million notebooks for different things. And I actually loved it so much, and it's the first notebook I've completely finished for years. Every single page I filled, and I absolutely loved it. It came with me everywhere. And you know, if I was waiting for someone at a coffee shop, I'd just journal a little bit, or I'd look through things, and it just became a good friend. So I treat myself to a slightly fancier one, and I'm enjoying it so far. Because work has been so busy so far this year, I haven't really sort of added very much yet in terms of pages, but it's there when I need it, and that's what matters. I've added a little fox sticker here. He's very cute. I've added at the front abbreviations for shorthand, just because I'd like to use this a little bit more. I do have my own sort of abbreviations for things, but I like that these are, I don't know, official. Is official the right word? The official ones that you're meant to use. And this is my little key when I'm writing to-do lists that I like to use. So a tick obviously is done. A line is cancelled. A wiggly line is something that I will do later because I haven't had time or whatever. A cross is that it's no longer needed. And I have an exclamation point for anything that's priority, and for things that are in progress but I might not want to tick off for a particular day, I add 3 little lines. Kind of like a loading bar, that's how I thought of it. So I'll try and show you things that aren't too private. I did some work this month on my goals and intentions. I don't actually like the word goals though. I'm going to say intentions. The last few years I've tried to just say intentions rather than really hard and fast goals, and that's been working for me, and it incorporates a lot of journaling work rather than just having a to-do list of goals to do. I try and think of it more mindfully and holistically, and sort of journal and approach it in a personal development way. This was a little mini declutter list that I've got going on. This is in progress, slowly ticking things off when I have the time. Got a page here, some journal questions that I can ask myself if I'm sitting somewhere and I don't really know what to journal about. It will just keep me busy. I did a little journal page here. I'm just going to flick through that. This is really fun. So these are around, kind of around my intentions, but I've done a few mind maps. So I divide my life up into 4 sections. So I have wisdom, creativity, relationships, and home. And around these, I've added little post-it notes to sort of put in what intentions would relate to this, and what I could incorporate. But it's very important to me this year to not, oh yeah, I've written here, is to not just add more of stuff to do, but to actually focus on what is already important to me, which is what I've got written down here, and do deeper work for those things. So making more time for the things I already want and enjoy doing, and letting go of things that I'm doing perhaps out of guilt or out of a habit that I actually don't want anymore, or the person that I think I should be, and instead trying to focus this year on doing the things that actually do nourish and fulfill me, because that is growth to me this year. And that's how I've done it. And another big focus for me this year is trying to focus on the act of ritual. So rather than rushing through my day and habit stacking and multitasking, I'm trying to approach things in a ritualistic way. So to actually make time to slow down. And a big thing for me this year is to physically slow down, like literally slow down, because I'm so het up and anxious all the time. And then physically, I find myself literally rushing around. And like if I'm making a cup of tea, you know, I splash the water in, splash the milk in, give it a quick stir and run off with it to the desk. Or if even just simple things like if I'm doing the housework, you know, I'll vacuum as fast as possible, make the bed as fast as possible. And I keep catching myself thinking, what is the rush here? No one is telling me to do this really fast. I can physically slow down and try and be more mindful. And I read somewhere that this is very good for your regulation system to actually physically slow down, especially if you're someone who is quite highly strung, and it can help to teach your body that there isn't actually any threat. And so that is a big part of this, is I sat down with each of the main areas of my life, thought about what's already really important to me, and rather than just add stuff to that I just felt like I had to, I actually just took off anything that I actually didn't want to focus on, and all that's left are the things that's really important to me. So this was a very helpful exercise, and then this has helped to inform those intentions, which I do on Notion separately, because then I can like move things around. But this is definitely helpful as a first section of goal setting. And that's sort of it for now that I've been able to do and that I can show you. I've made an open page for February, just added a few stickers. And these are my 3 main focus areas for this month. So as I've said, slow down physically, focus on my rituals, and to sit down and study or read over just being busy and productive for the sake of it. So I'm trying, especially at work as well, is to actually relearn what prioritization means, and to say no to things, for example, meetings that have no agenda, or meetings that have no clear purpose. And I'm getting much better at saying no to things, and also pushing away things that don't have to be done in a day, because I definitely have a tendency to want to do everything in a day. And I'm learning now to actually spread things out over a week. And that way I'm less exhausted at the end of a week. I haven't yet been able to really do much journaling this month, but when I am, I know it's here ready for me, and I'm really loving this notebook. So I usually am a ring-bound notebook girly, but one thing that I did love about that system is that you can tear a page out if you want. But with that comes the catch-22 in that if you move a certain page too much, it starts to come out and sort of rip even if you don't want it to come out. So I thought I'd try a bound notebook this time, and I'm really liking it so far. I love how it's very compact. The paper quality is good. I like that there's 2 ribbons rather than just one. And yeah, I'm really loving it, and I absolutely adore this colour. I can't remember what it's called. If anyone wants to know, let me know. But it looks really nice with my Filofax. So I've got this deep purple and this deep burgundy, and I think they look really nice together. And finally, I'll show you my little reading journal for this year. So again, with the calendar, I've used a digital reading log app thing for many years. I use Storygraph, and I am still using it this year because I think it's such a great app and I want to support the creators. But I am equally trying to, well, as I've said, step away from my phone too much a day, and I want to sit down and think about what I've actually read rather than just tick it off on an app and then on to the next book. So, and this doesn't need to take a lot of time. As you can see, it's a very small notebook, but it's just a case of after I finish a book, I will just sit down, write a summary of what happened, and then write my thoughts on it. So here we have the title. I added this very distinguished gentleman sticker, this little rabbit. I think he's very handsome. And these 2 book stickers were sent to me by a friend kindly in the post. And it's very basic. It's nothing special. I've just added a little January sticker at the beginning of January, and I've added the name of what I've read and the author, and then in general for every book I've just added a summary at the top and then underneath my own thoughts on it. My plan originally was to add pictures of the books themselves, but I don't have a printer. I forgot about that, so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with this, and I'm terrible at art, but I might be able to print them off at work, I'm not sure. But for now, I'm just leaving that sort of space as a book space. So I read 6 books in January, and this doesn't even take me that long. I thought, oh gosh, this is going to take me hours. It honestly doesn't. It takes me about 30 minutes, but despite that it doesn't actually take long, it's been so helpful already, just in 1 month, to sit down and process what I've read, what I liked, what I didn't, and to sort of try to commit the overall story to memory, because I have a terrible problem with memory, and that was a main driver of why I wanted to start this, so that then at the end of the year I can look back and I have all these notes that I've taken. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So there's not obviously a great deal of space in here. I'm not a fast reader, so this should be more than enough space for me this year. I counted that it will give me enough for about 52 books, which I doubt I will read, but this does allow me to, for example, in this instance, for most of the books I've just used 1 page, but this one I used 2 because this was The Adventures of Robin Hood by Roger Lancelin Green. This was one of the best stories I've read for so long. It's so fun, so adventurous, really surprising in terms of gender roles at the time. It was just a fantastic book. So I wrote about this for a couple of pages. Very, very tiny writing, as you can see. My normal relaxed handwriting is very large, but for this I just make it very small so I can fit everything onto 1 page where possible. But yeah, it's been really helpful. I love it so far, and I'm obviously in February now, so I've read 1 book in February so far. And what I'm going to start doing now also is add in when I start and end the book and how many pages are in each book. I'm trying not to sort of focus on data too much this year, but they're sort of helpful things to know. I find it quite curious to just see how long it takes me to read a book. So January reading 6 books for me is actually quite a lot. I normally only read sort of between 2 and 4 books a month, depending on the size. But I did a lot of reading last month, which was nice. So yes, we're on February now, and I'm really enjoying doing this time. And I think the size of this notebook helps, because it's not such an enormous page. It doesn't feel so overwhelming when I sit down and have to write something. It's just a very quick overview and a summary, and that's enough for me, and it's really useful. I really like this notebook as well. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's got this gold foiling detail, and this is a print of The Rose by William Morris, and I bought a pack of 3 of these in different William Morris prints in Waterstones, and yeah, they're all really pretty. So that's that. And again, together, I think all these 3 look really nice. I have these in my little alcove next to my desk, and I think they just look really pretty together. So the final thing I wanted to show you was just the sticker packs that I'm using. In my Filofax, I'm using these. So I bought these 2 packs on eBay. I'm sure you can buy them in other places online though. They're just like quite generic that I've seen in a few different places. I'm trying not to say the A word because I don't like to shop on the A word, but I got these from eBay, and they're just, let me show you this one first. So this pack is kind of that monthly overview pack. So you get a page for each day of each month of stickers. So this is February's month. You can see I've used a few stickers already. This is March. This is April. I won't go through all the months, but just to show you as an example, I love that you get these cute little themes for each month. And they all include things like flowers and quotes, clothing, cozy things. And I like that the colours change throughout the year as well. So I'm really liking this. And this is where I got those tiny tabs for my Filofax from. So these were where the monthly tabs were from. Very cute and small, and these are the months that I'm using in my reading journal, so really useful, that one. And then this one is a larger pack, and it has some nice ones, just like general ones for like self-care, home stuff, but a lot of these are planning style stickers, which are useful for the Filofax to add in. So this is like a self-care one. Here you have different appointments, little to-do list stickers, some more kind of appointment ones. So these sorts of things in this pack, like deadlines, financials, paydays. There's a really nice one that I like. Let me try and show you. Oh yeah, I really like these 2. So these are around specific appointments. So you've got car, house, shopping, medical, utilities, petrol, gym, these things. I think they're really nice to just add in to the Filofax. And there's a good few pages here. Really good quality for the price, I think. And again, I really like the colours in here, and I'm really enjoying using them. I've just noticed that my battery cut out at the very last thing I was going to show you, so I'm just going to show you this holding the camera by hand quickly. This is the stickers that I've used a bit in the reading journal and with my Filofax. This is by the Sticker Treasury. This is their Woodland Adventures themes. They do a few different themed books. This is by Smith Street Books. And oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. I'm trying not to fall into the trap of not using the nice stickers and actually use them, but oh yeah, as you can see here, they're so beautiful that I've actually been cutting a few out and sending them to friends in the post, because they're just so wonderful and they make really good post gifts. And so yeah, I got this one because woodland animals are my favourite collection of animals, and they're in all different sizes. So this page here, for instance, this is a whole sticker, so you can peel this whole page off and, well, stick it wherever you want, but it's just, I'm so glad I got this. It was quite expensive. Oh no, it was really expensive for stickers, but of course they're not just stickers, they're actual artwork. Oh, I love this one so much. Look at these bears. And yeah, I'm going to make a concerted effort to use this, and I might have a look at what other ones they've got, but this is definitely the favourite that I saw in the shop where I got this. Just beautiful creatures, cute woodland animals. I just love them. So I would definitely recommend this as well.